I'll just start my talk with introducing me as a child. So this is me as a kid, and I'm sure you all will all relate to this. That parents love bony kids. Everyone likes their kids to be plump, and I was very plump as a child, and then I grew up to be a very obese teenager, and morbidly obese is what I would say. And I was taught, and there used to be a lot of bullying that happened in school and college, and I was taught to by my parents to tell my classmates and everybody else that bullied me that I don't eat your father's, I eat my parents' food. And only when I started facing the consequences of being obese, the health issues that I started facing is when I looked at it very seriously and I lost weight. And that's how I became a nutritionist. And I actually took formal training in nutrition. So it's not that I've lost weight and become a nutritionist, but I've done my post-graduation in nutrition. And I think it's been a great journey, right from being there to today seeing kids. And today we definitely, in fact, I liked one thing which Dr. V. Mohan recently said, in the past when you were an obese kid in a classroom, everybody used to bully you because there were very few obese kids and there were kids used to be normal body weight or underweight. And today, I think in a classroom, you see more kids who are obese and overweight that actually there is nobody bullies you because then you're one among them. And, and today we come across a lot of kids. In fact, in the lockdown period itself, I think I have seen a lot of kids, who have to become overweight. People have gained weight as well as a lot of children with type 2 diabetes. In fact, in my practice, I see a lot of children with type 1 diabetes. And today I have to really look at the doctor's prescription to see whether it's type 1 or type 2. And we have a lot of young kids right from the age of 9 years to 12 years and more having type 2 diabetes today. And this was a recent, child who came to us. She's in the 9th standard, 96 kgs, food habits, again, no breakfast, mid-morning is canteen food, evening snack, again, all packaged foods, and I think today, thanks to all the food delivery systems, it's very easy for them to get food, at home if they don't like the food. And even if dinner is not tasty, order out, and physical activity is nil. And as a result of which this child had diabetes, you could see acanthosis nigricans and high cholesterol levels. And childhood obesity in India is becoming a big problem with, 17 million obese children in India that is being predicted by the year 2025. And in fact, the Mark study has clearly shown that we have at least 1/3 of our 23% of our children who go to urban schools are overweight and 11% obese. In fact, we've done a very big study in the city of Mumbai itself, where we screened children in the age group of 16 to 25 years, that is adolescents and young adults, for diabetes, and we saw that 1/3 of this population was having pre-diabetes basis on their serum insulin levels. And this is definitely becoming a big concern. And I'm sure you all will relate to this. I don't think today's kids will even know what this is. In fact, when I asked my son what this was, and he said it was a grain thrasher. So basically, we woke up to this, where our grandmothers were, or even our parents, making the idli batter in the morning to your, masala for your curries. And when you went to the villages, your uncles and aunts were on the field and everybody ate together as a family. And we didn't have ready-made, atta came home. You had to literally clean the wheat and go to the flour mill. And that itself was great activity. And I think we children got involved during our vacations. And going to the market was, again, a big activity, that we used to do over the weekends. And there were home cooked meals. I remember just getting, food in a restaurant maybe once a month. And that also used to be a simple thali. And then we saw diabetes only in the late 60s. And this is what our grandparents ate. I think we ate as children. And today, what are the challenges? And I can really speak about it because I myself have has 11-year-old child, and I can see a big difference between our childhood and today's children. They skip breakfast because children are waking up late, or not wanting to eat breakfast. There's late sleeping because everybody's hooked to their gadgets. Midnight eating. A lot of children, especially when they are studying for the exams, the 10, 12 standard. Gadget addicts, first we used to wait for our friends to call us to go down to play. And today we have to push our children to go down to play because everybody is playing, but still on their gadgets. And, there's no physical activity. There's increased screen time. And as a result of which we're seeing obesity, we're seeing insulin resistance, hyperinsulinemia, PCOS, which is very, very commonly seen in girls today, and type 2 diabetes very early on in life. And again, there's access to a lot of unhealthy food, and especially I think at least 2 to 3 days a week is when children eat outside food which they're ordering in. And today with one-on-one free, and the reward is food. Everything is surrounding. Everything is around food, and as a result of which, again, obesity is on the rise. If you look at the reasons, sometimes I'm talking to parents and they say, my child, especially when they get diabetes, they say the child refuses to have milk without sugar or curd without sugar. But who's inculcated this habit? It's us parents. So basically, even adding sugar to your milk or adding sugar to your curd. Again, we see a lot of parents who give the child a phone. Why? Because the child needs to eat. Otherwise, the child doesn't eat. So again, it's a habit that is formed by parents, and then they regret it later on in life. When the child says, I want to eat only one chapati, we actually, as mothers, we've seen that the mother makes a bigger chapati so that the child eats more. Again, everybody is on their dining table, on their respective gadgets, either on their phone or on their laptops. I think today birthday parties are not outside, but they're all in a mall. And again, with gadgets. The breakfast items which are home cooked have been replaced by your ready-made cereals, as well as you have a lot of ready-made sugar sweetened drinks that are available. And malls, I think we don't go out today. There's nothing to see, and you're outside, with the family. Whatever time you spend is in the mall, in the food court over the weekends, and nobody really uses the stairs. And as a result of which, we are seeing obesity right from childhood. Consumption of high fat, sugar, and salt is definitely high in India, and children are definitely eating more packaged foods, more sugar sweetened beverages, and definitely almost 1/4 of the school children consume ultra processed foods, which is high fat, sugar, and salt. Again, a survey which is conducted in a Delhi school said, basically the food advertising that they see on TV and on social media actually increases the consumption of these high sugar sweetened, salt and fat foods. And lockdown has had a huge impact. In fact, there was a very interesting study that was done by the Economic Times in which they saw that the maximum ingredient that was sold in the lockdown period were your bakery items. And all mothers have donned their chef caps and have made breads and pastries and cakes at home, and a lot of restaurant kind of menu that was cooked at home, which has actually increased the weight in these children. And therefore there has been a weight gain that has been seen. This is definitely that we see, and even in our clinic. In fact, the maximum clients that I'm consulting in my clinic today are children who have become obese. And a lot of parents have said that, the clothes are not fitting the children today is because children have gained weight during the lockdown period. And therefore, I think it's very important to also inculcate the right habits from childhood, not force children to eat. Teach them that eat when hungry and stop when you're full. And if you look at the revised, NIN guidelines in terms of weights, we've just had the ICMR NIN release their new guidelines. And again, anybody who's above the 85th percentile is overweight, and anybody above 95th percentile age for sex is obese. Now, what is a management? One is definitely lifestyle change, behavior management, increase in activity, because we cannot go very, very low when it comes to calorie control, but definitely in increasing the quality of food as well as increasing the amount of activity that the child is doing. Weight control is definitely essential to bring down this, the serum insulin levels, to bring down the blood glucose levels, because we have a lot of kids who are pre-diabetic as well as having diabetes. Gradual weight loss. So it has to be gradual, it has to be sustainable. Give them small, realistic targets which they can achieve. Very important is to have an interdisciplinary approach with the physician, the pediatric endocrinologist, the dietitian, and an exercise physiologist. And regular follow-ups, monitoring weight, glycemic control is very, very important. Encourage, I think very important is, again, having the entire family to eat as a unit, keeping the TV switched off. Most often we ask families, do you all eat together? Most often the answer is no. Even if they eat together, it is with their TV switched on or with some gadget which is on the dining table. Focus should be on portion sizes and keeping your energy, your fat and sugar containing foods to the minimum. Again, when the child has got diabetes, very important is focusing on SMBG. Now, what are the goals of meal planning? One is it has to be well-balanced meals which are calorie and carbohydrate controlled. nutrient dense. That means even if we are trying to control the amount of calories that the child is consuming, it has to be nutrient dense. So nutrient density is extremely important. Diet diversity is very important, where they're getting nutrients from all the different food groups, keeping in mind their cultural preferences. Because today, if you have a South Indian, you cannot ask him to eat a North Indian meal, and North Indian, you cannot ask them to eat a South Indian meal. So it has to be very, very, regional specific. Prevention of complications, normoglycemia in case of diabetes. Yes, time and range is important while focusing on growth and development. Therefore, we cannot do very, very drastic calorie restriction. It has to be a calorie controlled meal plan with carbohydrate restriction, but not low carbohydrate, not very low carbohydrate diets. Now, when you're looking at the carbohydrate recommendations, we have to keep in mind the age, the gender. I think today very important is physical activity, because each child has a different physical activity that they do. Some play a game, a sport, or some are very sedentary. And also depending on their caloric intake. Now, very important is ISPAT guidelines clearly state that you do not go very, very low on carbs. We have a lot of parents who come and ask us, can we follow a ketogenic diet for children? But very clearly, a ketogenic diet cannot be followed by children and adolescents, because they need the right amount of nutrients for growth and development. Therefore, it has to be a carbohydrate control meal plan. And what we recommend usually is, the STAT study has shown that we Indians consume around 65 to 70% of calories coming from carbs. So just moderating it to around 45 to 50%, improving the quality of carbs, can help minimize your glycemic excursions as well as improve dietary quality. Now, when it comes to sucrose, it should be restricted to not more than 10% of total energy. If the child is taking sweeteners, then stevia and sucralose is recommended within the ADI limits, but I try and give sucrose and keep within the carbohydrate budget itself. Emphasis should be on fiber, especially in our children's diet. The focus should be on fiber, and the amount of fiber is basically age plus 5 grams of fiber per day. I love this plate concept which we use to explain to our children, and our parents. And I think this is very easily implementable. So basically take a small plate, fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables, 1/4 of your plate with your cereals, millets, and your starchy vegetables. And make sure that the cereals and millets are unpolished, not the polished ones. And we have a lot of millets in our country that we can use, whether it is your sorghum, which is jawar, bajra, you have ragi, you have foxtail millet, you have different kinds of millets, and use unpolished rice and whole wheat flour. Then make sure that the plate looks colorful. We eat with our eyes. So the first instruction or the first tip that we give our parents is make sure that the plate looks colorful. Plan the menu with the child, so then you do not have that last minute where the child says, okay, I'm not going to eat, or I don't like the food. So take that extra effort on a Sunday, planning the menu with the child, making sure that it's wholesome, having all the components of your, all the food groups of your food plate. And 1/4 of your plate should be protein. So emphasizing on the intake of protein, which is lacking in our Indian diets. Whether it's, your non-veg foods, if the child is a non-vegetarian, a whole egg, definitely, and especially the egg with the yolk, because the yolk has got a lot of healthy nutrients, and dairy products. Physical activity, definitely we have to emphasize on physical activity. And again, it should be something that the children like to do, because today we've seen our parents putting the children in a lot of classes, which becomes again very taxing on the child. They should be able to take that 1 hour of their me time and do what they enjoy doing. So whether it's badminton, whether it's dance, Zumba, whatever activities that they do. But the guidelines clearly state that 60 minutes minimum activity a day for children. And even the WHO guidelines state the same thing. Rethink your drink. I think today it's very, very important, especially when it comes to drinks. Today in birthday parties, or even casually, we see that, children are guzzling down a lot of these kind of aerated drinks, which have a lot of sugar, minimum of around 12 to 15 teaspoons of sugar. So therefore, definitely this should be discouraged, and healthy options should be advised. Especially you can have buttermilk, you can have a sattu drink, you can have a raw mango drink, a nimbu pani, a vegetable juice is something that we could recommend. Now, what do our kids snack on? I think this is our biggest problem. Even meals have been replaced by snacks today when we take the dietary recalls. And if you see, most of the snacks that the children have are either biscuits or a lot of unhealthy snacks. So basically, they're very high in carbohydrates, especially your refined carbs, high in fats, which is your trans fats, high in salt and sodium content, high in calories, highly processed, high in simple sugars, low in protein, and low in fiber, and high in preservatives. So how can we change this? So one is, if you look at the snack, especially if the child has got diabetes, you will see that If the child is having a sandwich as a mid-morning snack, the pre-lunch blood glucose levels is high. If the child is having either biscuits or some kind of a fried snack in the evening, the pre-dinner is high. So can we just change that? Make the small modifications there itself. Breakfast should be home cooked, lunch home cooked, and dinner home cooked most of the days, and change your snacks to healthy snacks. So fruits and nuts can be a good option. Then evening snack, again, we can have them have some good options like a chana chaat, maybe makhana, maybe boiled eggs or roasted chana with. Hi, sorry, I think you lost me here. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Sheril. Yes, definitely.
Oh,
Can hear you now.
I think you lost me.
Carry on,
Yeah,
Sheril. Carry on.
So basically, we were talking about the sugar-sweetened beverages, and then we were talking about, the healthy options. I think it's always important to give options because otherwise parents don't know what to give. So I think the most important thing as a healthcare professional is providing them with so many options that they cannot think of what they can't have. So basically, when we're looking at the snacks, I think I've gone through these slides. So replacing your high carb, high calorie snacks with moderate carb, low calorie, as well as more protein. So very important is to include protein. If the child is a non-vegetarian and eats eggs, we can ask them to have an egg, whether it's an omelette, whether it's a boiled egg or a makhana, adding some paneer, etc. to it. You can have a chana chaat, etc. And therefore, very, very important is to emphasize on regular meal timings and the portion as well as the quality of meals. Now, when we're looking at food labels, this is again very, very important. Sometimes we have parents who come and tell us, I'm having only oats biscuit. And when we actually teach them to read the food label, we see that there is only 6 to 8% oats. Remaining everything is refined flour. So again, emphasizing on the importance of reading food labels. We ask them to have yogurt. They go and buy a ready-made yogurt, which is flavored yogurt, which has got a lot of sugar in it. Again, most of the cereals that are available are again very, very high on sugar. So therefore, it's important to educate them on reading food labels. Now, when you look at the snacks, for example, I'm having a bowl of namkeen. You're easily consuming around 500 calories. But when I just replace that with sprouts, I'm actually reducing 400 calories there itself, as well as I'm improving the quality of the nutrients, whether it's carbohydrate, whether it's protein and fiber. Now, nuts are a very, very good option, especially for our children. And we've seen, and there's enough evidence to show that adding nuts to the diet actually helps to improve the metabolic risk profiles. So whether it's walnuts, whether it's peanuts, almonds, cashews, or pistachios, a handful of it as a snack is definitely recommended. One is it is low in carbs. Secondly, it has got good amount of micronutrients, good fiber, and protein. So therefore, definitely emphasize on the importance of nuts in the diet. If the person cannot afford the expensive nuts, peanuts itself is good. So, unsalted peanuts with chana is something that we could recommend. I think very important is to get innovative with food. As I said, give them, today the whole concept of culinary sciences come in, wherein we have to remove the fear of food, help them to enjoy, living with diabetes or try and help them, reduce weight. So there are so many options. And I think our traditional Indian food itself, we have so many options which are available. So, trying to get a little innovative with food today on YouTube, you have so many recipes which are available. Again, for example, chole bhature. Instead of having a bhatura which is deep fried, we can ask them to have the chole. Chole is really good and very sumptuous also. It gives you a good amount of satiety. But with that, you can have it with a roti. You can make a paratha which has got sattu atta in it, a little bit of paneer, a lot of vegetables which are grated. And that itself is good. You can have a besan or a moong dal chilla, have some oats, add some moong atta, put buttermilk and grated vegetables. So it becomes very wholesome. So, giving parents such innovative recipes really helps them and aids them in helping their children improve their health. Again, dahi bhalle, which is again very popular and children love it, which is deep fried bhalle. Instead of that, you make it in your paniyaram maker or the appam maker and then soak it in water and then add it to the dahi and enjoy it. It again becomes very, very delicious. So, you can make a paneer makhana chaat, you have nuts, you can have so many options. Sweet potato is again a very, very good source of complex carbs. So sweet potato, which is boiled, add some dahi to it, add some crushed nuts, it becomes extremely good for health. You can have chana chaat. That is again, whether it's sprouts, whether it's chana, whether it is your chickpeas, all these are good substitutes to all your ready-made foods which come in packets. Now, when you look at the sweets, children love sweets, but if you look at the amount of sugar which is there in your sweets, they're really, really high. And actually, you consume more amount of sugar than is your recommended budgets. So you can give them some good dessert options. For example, you can tell them to take, a date chana roll or a date nut roll. So basically, you take an almond and have that with dates, and that's easily available. You can give them a mixed bowl of fruits. You can add some hunker to fruits. You can have nuts with a little bit of dry fruits. You can make a parfait, which is nothing but hunkered. And now strawberries are in season. So you can just slice some fresh strawberries, take hunkered, or you can take a Greek yogurt and crush some nuts on top. You can take strawberries and dip them in dark chocolate and freeze them. And again, they become very tasty. So again, there are a lot of healthy options in terms of desserts also that we can recommend to our children. Very important, I think, today is, emphasizing on regular sleeping hours. Go to bed daily, because this is something that I see is a huge problem today with our kids. They are on Netflix, or on their gadgets till late in the night, and they don't wake up early, or they wake up very early, and therefore their sleep is not complete. Reduce screen time, and I think very important is to encourage parents to be good role models. We cannot be on watching TV and then tell the children not to do it. So very, very important is to encourage parents to be good role models. And to summarize, basically the treatment of obesity needs a multidisciplinary approach, regular follow-up. I think this is most important, hand holding the parents and the children, giving them regular motivation. Very important is gradual, sustainable weight loss, which can be sustained. It shouldn't be very drastic, especially with our kids. Practice mindful eating, not eating in front of screens and gadgets. Focus on portion-controlled, nutrient-dense foods, bringing about diet diversity, emphasizing on the need for the entire family to adopt a healthy eating behavior and a healthy lifestyle change, encouraging physical activity at a minimum of 60 minutes daily. And I think the most important thing is eat food grown on plants and not manufactured in plants. So jitna ho sake, traditional home cooked meals, because that is most important, and not get driven by, the advertisement driven industry, because then our children are getting lured by it and therefore eating a lot of unhealthy food. So thank you so much for your patient hearing. And this